Good evening, everyone. Tonight at the PNC meeting, we'll be talking about Gold Creek School's work in positive behaviours for learning. One of the strategic priorities for Gold Creek School over the next 3 years is around developing a strong learning culture. And this evening we're going to be focusing on the key improvement strategy around building a shared understanding around behaviour expectations, and the school is utilising the positive behaviours for learning framework to realise that part of our strategic plan. I am going to hand over to our Associate Principal, Sam Beattie, who is a part of the Action Learning team for the Positive Behaviours for Learning, and she will go through a bit of an explanation around what that is and what that means for our school. Thank you, Sam.
Okay, good evening. The Positive Behaviours for Learning is a framework. It is something that's going to take us a little bit of time to actually develop. It's a marathon, not a sprint, so we need to take time to actually develop it. We have had a leadership team that's had 2 days of professional development, and that leadership team is joined also by members from both the junior and the senior side in a working group, and that working group meets every second Thursday to actually make sure that we're implementing this framework. But as I said, it's going to take a bit of time. So at the moment, there are 7 key features of the Positive Behaviours for Learning, and I'll read out what they are, but we can start at any point along the journey. So the 7 are the common language, vision and experience, leadership and school-wide support, clearly defined expected behaviours, procedures for teaching and practising expected behaviours, continuum of procedures for acknowledging the expected behaviours, continuum of procedures for responding to problem behaviours, and procedures for record keeping, decision making and ongoing monitoring. So the Positive Behaviours for Learning looks at both classroom and non-classroom settings, and we are actually focusing on the non-classroom settings to start with. Any decisions that we make along the way have to get 80% of buy-in from our staff right across both sites. So everything with this consultation with staff, and along the journey there will be consultation with parents and with students as well, because it is a whole school approach to make sure that this is actually embedded and taken on board by everybody for it to work successfully. So as I said, we're going to start on the non-classroom settings, and we've had 2 whole school meetings at the moment to actually start looking at what our expected behaviours are, and to then start having a look at what our what our motto might be, what our, for want of a, I don't know how to put the actual words, our purpose and our expectations, okay? So we had a brainstorm a couple of weeks ago, week 1 actually of this term, and what we had to look at there is even what we thought were our major non-classroom settings. So we discussed those, and we've got a list of those. We also had to discuss as a group what we thought our motto and our expectations might be. So a lot of schools might come up with things like, one school is looking at grow as their overarching theme, because it fits in with their environment philosophy that they have at their school. So we're trying to actually establish what Gold Creek's philosophy is going to be around our positive behaviours for learning. And so we've had a lot of ideas, lots of them came through, and as the leadership team we've tried to actually collaborate all the ideas together and have a look at what we think might be the best way to move forward. And so we've put out then some ideas to the staff to vote on, and we have to get 80% back with that. We haven't got 80% at the moment. I think, what did Kai say today? It was about 60%. So we have to then go back and have a look at, okay, take on their feedback, how can we modify that, go back to them again and get feedback. And then of course we have to get feedback from parents and from students as well. So it is going to take a lot of time. So what it will be around is, what are we expecting from students in these particular areas? And that's where we're focusing on at the moment. What does it look like to be to have respectful, safe learning behaviours in our, for example, canteen, or in our toilets, or in our hallways? So we have to actually have a look at that, and then the idea is to develop a matrix. And so it will have what our expected behaviours are, all of our non-classroom settings, what we've decided they are, and then what the expected behaviours will be in those particular settings. And then it's around teaching the students and the staff about how we're going to teach the kids to meet those expected behaviours and how we're going to actually modify their behaviour if they're not meeting those expected behaviours. Some people actually take groups right around the school and go to each area and have a look at it. Some do it through classroom teaching, and it might look slightly different from the junior and the senior site. However, everything that we do has to be consistent right across our site. So if we decide that our expectations are going to be that we are safe, respectful learners, it has to be right across the junior site. So with their safe, respectful learners here, they're safe, respectful learners in the senior site as well. Okay, so it is going to take a lot of time. So that's where we're starting at the moment. We've only just started our journey, so it's only been this term and a bit so far. But as I said, we're meeting every second week to actually keep moving forward on this particular journey. Did you want to add anything else?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions here?
I'm really excited about it actually. I think it's going to be a really positive thing for our school, but it's just going to take a little bit of time and we need to make sure we get it right. We do have an external coach that is working with us as well, and she's been in on one of our meetings and we're trying to race ahead and she's actually reining us back a little bit because we're so excited, we want to see things happening, but we have to make sure we get the processes right. So she's actually trying to keep us not racing ahead and keep us in check so that it will work, because she said some schools, when they go through this journey, if you jump too far ahead, it doesn't have the impact that it needs to have. So yeah, it's very exciting, really want it to move forward, but we need to make sure we're getting the buy-in from everybody in our community. So.